Marvel driving review. Let's hit the controversy first. So on the first side of things, I want to say that I'm the type of person who is for diversity 100%. I think that that follows in line with everything that Stan Lee and Marvel Comics say and do and stand for, and I am all about it. If you don't agree on that line, you don't have to keep watching. On the other hand, I think that when we start excluding people, when you say that someone's opinion no longer accounts, or needs to be heard simply based off of the color of their skin and or the dangly parts between their legs or gender or however you want to say it, at that point in time I think we're on a pretty slippery slope and the comment really comes across as bigoted. With that in mind, I'm not going to let that ruin going to see a movie for me, and I was very excited about seeing Captain Marvel. In general, I thought as far as a Marvel movie, it was kind of middle of the road. It wasn't all that exciting, like especially for the cosmic ones, Infinity War and both the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. I was over the moon for. I thought that both of them were very action-packed. There was lots of color. There was lots of just there was stuff that was little Easter eggs all over the place. I mean, there were Easter eggs in this one, but there were so many opportunities that I felt were lost. So just to jump in, probably the thing I was most excited about more than anything else in the movie, and as a Quasar fan, you guys know this is coming, Project Pegasus. Let's talk about it. Project Pegasus is in the movie, so a big, like the first 45 minutes of the movie or so, like slowly builds up to them getting to Project Pegasus. And you know who I was looking to be the head of security. You know who I was looking to step up and step in. Mr. Wendell Vaughn himself, Quasar. We had the opportunity, and it was gone. Instead, we get some scrumudgeony old freaking security officer. Project Pegasus, this massive government installation. Their security office looks like it should be like an old smoker's lounge or like the teacher's lounge at a freaking school. It does not look like a security office for a high stakes government research facility. This is not Project Pegasus. Another missed opportunity is not dropping in a little Mark Gruenwald love. So they definitely could have like thrown in at least one scientist somewhere or someone and went ahead and introduced a character as Mark. For everything that he's done, for everything that he did, bringing Project Pegasus to where it is today and where it stands in Marvel Comics, and everything else he did as an editor and a writer, deserves at least that kind of a nod. If they're going to give what they give to Stan at the very beginning, then 100% Mark deserves to get a shout out there. It's been done in the comics, and they needed to do the follow-up, and they failed to do so. And I gotta say, I'm a little hot. I'm a little hot. So let's move on to something else. Let's talk about the whole half Kree bit. So if you guys want to go back and watch, I've got my video on Carol Danvers and her entire history on her backstory leading up to the recent retcon. So the most recent retcon of Carol Danvers is they make her half Kree. Her mother was half Kree, and that makes her half human, half Kree. So traditionally her character was always human. And then they turn around and they make a big deal in this movie about how she's human and how she's stepping up and how she's human. And I almost feel like they plugged away at this so much to pull the rug out from under us later. Like maybe 2 or 3 movies down the line, they want to do the big reveal there that Carol isn't actually fully human, that she's half Kree. And that's probably why she was capable of getting the blood transfusion from Yon-Rogg, is because of that. So we'll find out later that her mother and or father was Kree, and she'll be tapped into her big Kree heritage. And by that time, everyone will have forgotten how important it was for her character to be fully human in taking the role she did here, and taking the role she did her entire life growing up, and overcoming the obstacles in the Air Force, getting knocked down over and over and over again. This was about being human, and the most recent iteration of the Captain Marvel comic completely robs us of that. It's definitely something that I hit on in the movie, or in my video on it. So moving on, other things that we need to talk. I was pretty bored. So there was a lot of this movie through the final end sequence and all that. I found my mind drifting. I was going to other stuff. a lot of the movie is dialogue inside gray buildings, gray spaceships, things like that. That's where I really contrast it, say in comparison to Guardians or Avengers Infinity War, is because those movies were so beautiful to look at, and I just didn't get that here. There was a lot of stuff in the plot that I don't want to necessarily get into, because I probably need to go back through and rewatch and like make notes, but there were a number of things when it came to various characters' motivations that completely confused me. Just because if I go back, I mean, on face value, there are things that look legit and seem okay, but on the other side, I'm not really 100% sure about that. I also feel like maybe the Skrulls in this are lying to us, because if there's one thing we know that Skrulls are, and this is carried out by their shape changing, is they are absolutely deceivers. So I'm not 100% sold that the Skrulls are this big, like, sort of woe is me kind of group that the Kree are hunting down. So where are we going to go with this next? So I had a bunch of notes written down on things I wanted to talk about here with this, but I ended up losing my notes. So I'm just trying to think back through various parts of the movie. So let's talk about the things I did enjoy. I thought Samuel L. Jackson was great in this. I thought his character did a fantastic job. I thought it was really strange that Yon-Rogg, they didn't really name him throughout most of the movie. He was there, but if you notice, they really hold off on that. Cheeseburger. Oh, frick. This is what I was going to talk about. Cheeseburger. So, Carol Danvers' call sign when she was in the military was Cheeseburger. And one of the things that drove me nuts throughout the entire freaking movie was trying to look in the background of the pictures and everything else to see what her Carol blank Danvers call name was, because I was looking for that Cheeseburger, and all you could get was that G-E-R off the end, and I was like, it looks like it's gonna be Cheeseburger, but I know what? I know they're lying to us. I know they're lying to us. And then we get all, because I thought there's no other reason why you're just gonna keep leaving that in the background like you do, unless there's plans to follow up on it later. Bam, we get to the end of the movie, we hit that post-credit scene, and right there we find out that her call sign is suddenly Avenger now. What the hell? So the only time in the comics that anybody, so Tony Stark at one point in time asked Carol why she got the nickname Cheeseburger, and she tells him it's classified and refuses to tell him. But we've never been told why she got that nickname. So one of the things I was really hoping in this movie, and one of the things I was hoping when they were sort of tucking it behind everything, is we were getting around to some big reveal on like why Cheeseburger was going to be Cheeseburger. Guess what? There's no Cheeseburger anymore. Let's just go ahead and write that one off too. So also, if we're gonna make Carol half Kree in the comics and half human in the comics, then why in the world, and you're gonna do this big thing where you're gonna write the psych magnetron out of everything, then why in the world aren't you gonna follow that up with the same storyline in the movies? This is one of the reasons why I think that they're waiting for a bigger sellout on the true nature of her character. This is also one of the reasons why we're given all these snippets of her past with other people that we don't follow up on. I forget what the colonel or what's his name is that she ended up leaving the Air Force with, and she, Michael somebody I think, that ended up being Michael Rossi maybe, ended up being her lover, her commanding officer and such, and we see him show up in the flashback scenes. Now, I will say that this is an excellent opportunity, 100% across the board, to tie the MCU in with the X-Men side of the Marvel Universe. So we want to pull those mutants in, and Michael Rossi ties in heavily with what's going on over on that side of the universe. It's definitely a thread that they could follow back, especially since we have so many more Captain Marvel movies coming, and I could really see a little bit of groundwork maybe starting to get laid there. So if we're going to talk about other characters, and we're going to talk about a movie called Captain Marvel, then one of the things we have to talk about is Captain Marvel, and you know who I'm talking about. I'm not talking about Captain Marvel, I'm talking about Dr. Lawson. All right, fine. I'm cool with them going ahead and make Dr. Lawson a woman, whatever. Captain Marvel can be a woman. That's not going to mess with my head too much. I mean, there is the whole like storyline when it comes to like Medic Una and Yon-Rogg, and exactly what are, I mean, the motivations given behind Yon-Rogg at this point are just so flimsy, so weak on why he came up and shot Mar-Vell the way he did. Like, And it's like, yeah, if you saw the movie, you saw that's what happened. One shot. And one of the most iconic characters in all of Marvel Comics is down and out and gone. Holy shit. Like, there's no excuse for that. Marvel deserves a higher place. Marvel, Mark Gruenwald, Quasar, give all of these guys a shot. They all deserve a place. Oh, I can't, like, when that happened, I mean, I saw that something was going to happen. I knew it had to go. I mean, previously I'd even stated, I don't know, where I'd actually talked about the fact that I think that the only way they could do this is making that whoever Mar-Vell was as an iconic character in Carol's past, and boom. What do you know? That's what they turn around and do. I might have even floated the idea out there of making her a woman. But the fact, all right, I don't care about that. But the fact that you're going to kill him off like that, you're not going to give any context, you're not going to give much background, you're just going to set it up as, oh, I'm just this big wise character that you're going to end up seeing when you end up going to the to see the Supreme Intelligence. Because that's another thing, you can't show the fucking Supreme, I shouldn't drop F-bomb. All right, so you can't show the Supreme Intelligence here. So they did. I mean, it was their iteration of the Supreme Intelligence. But one of the things we all wanted to see was that big green globulous head. Because one of the things that sets the Kree apart as an alien species, as something that is completely different and foreign to anything on Earth, is the fact that they have this great big huge green globular collective conscious of a leader that shows himself off on a view screen and chooses to show himself that way, doesn't pull the images out of the unconsciousness of the other people. Instead, no, that's how he and the collective want to be shown. And I was looking forward to it. I was really looking forward to it and thought that was going to be an awesome reveal. I was waiting to even see how the audience was going to react. And instead we get this character that ends up being Captain Marvel, and that I first thought that was probably Carol's mom, since in the comics it was revealed that she was a Kree. But see, that was what would make sense. So in the end, when we're looking at a character that Carol would have looked up throughout her life, her mother would have been the perfect go-to. Or hey, better yet, instead of doing that trash move where once again you ended up giving Carol an abusive father, you could have went to the first iteration of Joe Danvers, which showed up in the comics, where Joe Danvers was a very respected and looked up to man. He was the kind of person that Carol wanted to be like when she grew up. So we went ahead and we've turned that on its head again, and we're going to go ahead and keep with the abusive father storyline. And I'm sure that we're going to factor into that at some point in the future. I was also a little bit curious, as I couldn't quite tell in the movie how many brothers she had. I think that they're going to go ahead and just nix one of the brothers and go ahead and put us with the one. That means that the one brother that we've got will probably die at some point, and we're going to have to deal with that as a form of future flashback in a future Captain Marvel movie. So, the movie was okay. It was middling. I've got other stuff too. I just can't think of it all. This is why I needed my list. I can't think of it all off my top of my head. That's a good enough rant. That's a good enough go at this. I'm not mad at Brie Larson or whatever her name is about this going south. I'm mad at whoever the writer and director of this was. Because this movie had the potential to be so much more. That's it. Just the potential is there for this to explode. Throw some more color in there. Drop some of those other names. Put some of those Easter eggs in there. Like, let us know that you're feeding us some breadcrumbs for what's going to come on down the line. Give your fans some hype. If you look at, that's, once again, I hate to look back at it, but the James Gunn movies and Infinity War, once again, tons of breadcrumbs all over the place. It was just beautiful. I mean, even going down to like the bit towards the end where we're looking at the Collector, and at the end of that, I can't remember if it was the first or second Guardians movie. I think it was the first. And we go in and we get to see his room, and we see the pod there for Adam Warlock. Ooh. That movie was so good. And then at the end of the second one, her dropping the name Adam and seeing the new pawn and knowing that that's Aisha, who was originally Kismet, who is attached to the character Quasar through the comic, which Quasar should have been the security chief at Project Pegasus back in the 90s, so that when we run across his character 20 to 30 years later, he's already set up and he's established. Bam, so we can run across him as a security chief, then follow up so many years later, and we've got a fully developed Quasar ready to go, and him and Captain Marvel already sort of have a point of contact to touch base and have one of those cute, like, sort of, hey, I know you kind of moments. But we lose all that. Why? Because the writer on this movie was shit. I enjoyed the movie, but it was a failure. You don't need to see this in order to set yourself up for Infinity War. It's just stroking a character that just really didn't need stroke. Leaves way too many questions unanswered. I feel a lot of the answers that we did get were lies, and I really don't feel comfortable. I don't know. So I liked it. All right, I liked it, but I'm. We're going to see what they're going to do next, all right? All right, I got to pull in and take care of some business. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching Cosmic Comics. I'm out.